Welcome to the ZAppView-To-ZappLink 3. You'll find this ZSC file. This will be located in the ZPlugs. When you download it, you need to transfer it over to that folder. And you'll also have the ZAppView folder. And these need to be in here for this to work. You need ZBrush 3.1 for this to work. And you need the new ZappLink 3 that just came out. And let's get started. Let's close this up. And as you can see here, I got Photoshop here, but I'm going to be loading some action scripts over here on the left, and I'm going to show you that when I load ZBrush up. And the new plugin will be in the ZPlugs under ZappLink texturing. Down here are the Photoshop action scripts. We'll load these up in Photoshop. You'll be downloading these off the internet. I'll be adding a few maybe later on, and maybe I might not. But if I open up Photoshop here, you can see I have the default action scripts. If you download them off the internet, you can put them in the preset subfolder where the actions folder is at, or you can load them through here. And depends what version of Photoshop you got, but you can actually just click these files and they will automatically load. So let's load the Z multi-view. Double click it. As you can see, it loaded over here. Z single view, Z 4 cross. And actually these will stay in here next time I shut Photoshop down. And I'll be getting to these here in just a little bit. Since we got these loaded back up and you know how to put them in there, I'll show you how to work them later. So I'm going to go to the ZPlugs. Then there's a little config button here. It says load all these buttons on the UI. All these buttons will be placed over here on the left. So I'll select here and press it. Now these buttons here, ZappLink 3D, the ZappLink 2D, and the 2D to 3D, they all are linked to the ZappLink 3. So you must have this to work. This is not coded in it, it's just linked to it, and it does have some settings. Pixelator is the one that coded that, and he did a very good job. So he's got the rights to that. And we're going to do a little comparison here. I'm going to go ahead and load a cube up here. Anytime that you texture, the best thing always to do is to hold the shift key down and snap it into a position. And this will, it makes the texture transfer a lot better if you're doing front to back or left to right. It just kind of all depends, but you'll find out it works best that way. And I'll tell you a thing not to do. Never go up to document and never change your size. This could cause ZBrush to crash when using these buttons over here. Okay, I have the 1:1 ratio. I'll be going over this right now. When I select this button, keep an eye on the cube. It got quite large. I'll go half just to make sure. It's still got to be within the document. You can see it's within the border. If it is over exceeding it, you can scale it down a little bit. But you'll find most of the times it will not do that. And when you are texturing, always make sure you're in actual. This is 2:1. This is sufficient for texturing, and it's recommended. And 2:1 would be something that if you wanted to get very high detail with, and some very good sharp edges, and without no blur. So I'm going to go over a few samples just to do a little comparison. So let's go to 2:1, and I'll show you a reason why not to go below 2:1. Right now I'm at 2:1, so I'm going to scale this down here about 50% of the size. Now with the ZappLink, it's recommended to use a texture if you're doing a texture map. Okay, the old method was to use the texture and set the width and height. And before they would tell you to use equal height and equal width. So if it would need to be either like 512 by 512 or 1024 by 1024. You could type these values in here, which would be a little time consuming, or you could use this slider here. Creates a blank text or height and width equal size. So I'll slide it to 1920 and let go, and it automatically created a texture of the width of 1920, the height of 1920. And we're not going to do no poly painting. We're just going to use this for texturing. You can use the ZAppLink for poly painting, but we're not going to go over that. Let's do a comparison here. Let's press this button here. We don't want no fade. And let's go to View, Actual. Let's turn my draw size down. And I'll put a little dot right here. I'll go to File, Save, re-enter ZBrush, and we'll pick up now. Now let's take a little closer look at that. It's starting to get a little blurry the closer I'm getting. Let's go even a little closer. As you can see, the edges around the circle is not very crisp, and that's because we went beyond the 2-to-1 ratio. So let's go 2-to-1, and let's do a comparison with this. So press here. And we'll save this. Now let's take a closer look. As you can see, the 2-to-1 ratio was a lot better than the one that was below the recommended. Now we're going to shoot to 1-to-1 ratio. And we'll save this. As you can see here, I'll have to even scale a little bit further. The 1-to-1 is a tad better than the 2-to-1. As you can, I don't know if you can see it in the video, but there's a little bit of difference, but not a whole lot. But as you can see, when I got below the ratio, it's just unusual. You just can't use it. It's just too blurry. And let's say if you're familiar with texturing, once you put the texture on there, you're pretty much stuck with it. And if something messes up, like the texture shifts on you, or you didn't like it in that spot, you was pretty much stuck with it because you had no undos, or you could save it each time. But by clicking this button, this automatically does it for you. So if I go to the texture palette, as you can see here, here's my original one. Then it always goes in steps. So there's the previous one, and there's a previous one over that. So I'm able to go back to fix my mistakes. I'm going to pause the video, and I'm going to go and show you the ZAppLink 2D, and I'll be right back. Okay, I got the video restarted, and we're going to be going over the ZAppLink 2D, and I'm going to select the 2-to-1 ratio, no matter where the character is at on the canvas, it would automatically center it. But in this demonstration, I'm going to use 1-to-1 ratio. He does need a texture for him. And I'm going to press the ZAppLink 2D. Now this script has a little bug in here, and I'm going to show you how to fix it. And this only has to be done once. So I'm going to press here. And I'm going to go ahead and just press File, Save As. Re-enter. At this point in time, whatever you do, we're going to be painting in 2D. Do never change the tool right now. And when I press this ZAppLink 2D one more time, I'm going to get a little pop-up here that says congratulations. And that's going to indicate that it is working. And for some reason you have to save it twice. I don't know why. So I'll go ahead and press it. Congratulations up there. And it's ready to go. Also at that time it saved that tool. For some reason ZBrush crashes. You can locate that tool in the ZAppView folder. Let's add a little texture around here. Press File, Save. Re-enter ZBrush. Accept Layer Edit. As you can see, it went pretty fast because we are in 2D mode. And this is not making any texture map at this point. We are just texturing onto the canvas rather than onto the character. Now if I go over to the tool palette, I'll be able to select any of the 2.5D tools. Do never select a 3D tool because this will mess up if you do. And for some reason you can use a decal brush, but when you're done with it you must select another 2D tool before exiting or it'll mess up. So let's just turn that off, and we're going to be working back and forth, which is I want to work in ZBrush and Photoshop. And we'll go to ZAppLink 2D. And the thing not to do when painting in the 2D mode is never paint towards the edges just like I did. Well, you can if you want, but for a little demonstration here, I'm just going to show you some do's and don'ts. And we'll go ahead and File, Save. Re-enter ZBrush. And I can go ahead and select any other tools that I want that are 2D. Let's say that I wanted to actually use a decal brush on here. Make sure you select another tool before exiting. Select here again. But before I select it, let's say I didn't want to. I wanted to convert this onto a the character now, and I'm done with the ZAppLink 2D after a while. So what I'll need to do is I'll need to press this button down here. It says 2D to 3D. And I'm going to go ahead and press this. And we're going to texture both sides. Let me do one last final thing to it. And we'll just do File, Save. And we'll pick up now. As you can see, it's taken a while for it to transfer. It's a lot easier to, and a lot quicker to texture in 2D than to transfer it later. It'll free up a little bit of memory on ZBrush on your computer. But here's the little demonstration why not to paint towards the edges. As you can see down here in the shoulder area, there's a lot of depth in there, and ZBrush will not texture in there very well. And if I turn it to the side here, as you can see, some of the texture didn't get transferred very well. And that's why you would not want to texture on the edges. So basically you just stick in the center of the character without getting around the edges of the boundary here. So if I was just to do another quick one for our sample, the proper way would to do it, then I'm going to press the ZAppView 2D. Let's just turn the character to the other side. We'll press ZAppView 2D. I got the congratulations screen. I know I'm ready to go. I'm going to set one here. I can do anything that I want in Photoshop. File, save, re-enter. Do whatever I want with any 2D. Let's say I wanted to add some kind of stencil to it. At this point in time, I want to convert it over to 2D to 3D. Let's view this with the actual pixels. And we can go to filters and let's do a weave here. As you can see, I went ahead and got to the edge again like I told you not to do, but this is just a little demonstration here. And file, save. Now it's going to take a little bit of time. And now we converted 2D to 3D. Okay, I'm going to be going over the next section. Okay, this is where it gets good. We're going to use the Photoshop ZAppView and the Photoshop action scripts. For this to work, we're going to go ahead and select the side over here, and we're going to go down to the ZAppView View properties. Make sure it's snapped in the correct axis by holding the shift key down. Now I'm going to press the front button here. When I do that, it stores the back. That's all we need to do is do the front. And because it stores the back, so I'll do the right. And that's it. We're not doing top or bottom. These action scripts do not work with this, and it will cause an error. I'm going to be using 2:1 ratio. I am going to be needing a texture for it. At this point in time, we're going to use the ZAppLink into 3D. Let's change this little brush here. Okay, as you can see, the characters come in stacked one in front of another. Now the method to do this was to select your layer, and if you wanted to go to the next layer, you'd have to hide this one and then hide this one and select that layer to work on it. Well, these action scripts will help you solve that problem very quick. I got 3 folders. Each have their own actions to them. Do not combine these folders by clicking this button and going down and clicking this button. And I'll show you how to do this. Okay, I'm going to press a part action script. I'm going to select it. Then I'm going to press the play button. You may need to use the view and fit on screen, and we'll kind of zoom this up. Now split these apart, and you can see you can select each of the layers. You can use the ruler. As you can see, these are all perfectly lined. And you're probably saying, well, if you got the front here, why don't you have the back up here on the other side of it? Actually, when you're doing front to back texturing all the way around the character, it'll actually transfer a lot better. If you're familiar with the old Projection Master, it'd have a bad problem about texturing, like let's say behind the ear, anything that's got a lot of depth to it. I'll just show you a little sample right here. I'm gonna put me a little guide ruler, let's say up by the head here, and I'm going to let's say make a little headband for it. Since I got the guide ruler here and I am on the front layer, I'm going to click once, hold the shift key down and drag. Now I need to go over to the right layer, and I want to do the same thing. So I select the right, and actually all I need to do is get on that guideline, hold the shift key down and just click, and there it is. And when I'm done, I press together. I can press the play button, or I can just take the control key and hold it down and just double click. And when you see it stacked like that, it's done. You do not need to press File, Save, or Save As. Now these action scripts, they resize the document, and for some reason you decide to go up to File and Save when the document's big, it will cause ZBrush to crash. And another thing not to do is, if I had them apart right here, let's put that up there like that. Do never go down to another action and put together here. These are not the same togethers. So make sure you always stay in the same folder. And once they're stacked like that, sure, you can move to another folder then. Only when you see them stacked like that. Since it's already saved, it automatically saves itself. I can actually just go right into ZBrush without pressing File, Save As. We'll re-enter it. I want to do both sides. As you notice, I had the right and the front, but it's still trying to ask me to do the back. I'm just going to go and accept that. As you can see, it transferred all the way around the head there. And like I said, it can even get behind the even a lot of gaps like that pretty good. So let's go back. Now let's take a look at this. Separate them. Control 0. to fit on view, then we'll let's enlarge this a little bit so we can see. Now if I take my guide ruler, as you can see, all these textures line up perfectly. Let's put this together. And let's get something a little larger so you can see this. So I'll just go back here. I don't want to do nothing at this point in time. I'm going to cancel all this. I'm going to go ahead and switch over to 1:1 ratio. I'm just going to go ahead and make me a different texture here. Okay, I'm going to come back over to properties. I do need to clear all. And here's a very important part. If you ever use the 2D, make sure you clear all and make sure this is unchecked just like it looks. This does not work with what I'm doing right now. So do never use these two together. I'm going to store the front. And I'm going to store the right. Press it again. Okay, now we're going to go back up here in the multi-view and let's take a look at this now. Hold the control key down and click it. And we'll fit on the zoom. Now you notice it don't look right. You can actually click this button again, or the play button. We need to separate them just a little bit further. And there, they're perfect. As you can see with the guide ruler, there's the top of the head. The chins line up. Okay, now to get this back together, I select it. Still not together. It needs to be stacked. Okay, now I can, let's say, move to another folder. I'm going to close this one up so I don't get confused here. Zoom this up here. Okay, we got front, back, right, and left. And together and done. Now if you look down here, I'm on the front view. If I was to double click, hold the control key down and click on the right, it lets me work in that layer and I can see what I'm doing. I can do the back layer and it automatically puts me there. Left layer, front layer. Then when I'm done, I'll select here. And when you see them stacked together like that, then you can move to another folder. Let's go ahead and do one more for the part here, then we'll jump down to the 1:4 across. I know to double click this to get it in there. I'm going to use some hotkeys here so we can see what we're doing. And let's do one down here. We'll start with the back. Let's use a different color here. Then we need to move over to the left view. Make sure we're on that layer. And I'll click together. I know it needs to be done twice. And like I said, do never go to File, Save As on any of these folders because it automatically does it for you. Let's take a look at it. Let me go ahead and move this up so you can see a little bit better. As you can see, it transfers the texture really nice around the character here. And let's go to the last action strip. Okay, we got the Z4 cross. As you can see, I'm on the front layer, and if I move them, you can work in each layer and look at them like that. Let's take a little closer look. As you can see them right here. Made a little strip of them. But like I said, always stay within the folder before you move to another folder. And we'll go back to ZBrush and unchange. And if we ever use the ZAppView 2D to make sure that we make sure this is unchecked. Usually when you press clear all, it'll uncheck itself. But anyway, that's the little tips and tricks that'll help you get you up and running on it. And thank you very much.